what she's talking about today in Home Education. This is her first book of her 6 volumes. She talks about the child's estate. She says the child in the midst. And first, let us consider where and what the little being is who is entrusted to the care of human parents. And so this is a very interesting question, because she is asking, what is the child? And this is a really important question in our philosophy of education. Because how we view what is this child, how we view this child is going to determine a great deal how we treat this child, how we approach education. And it reminds me quite a bit of this experience that I had. This is many, many years ago now, so I think that many things may have changed, or maybe not by now, but I had an experience where I was able to teach in a public school in middle school. And the youngest children that I was teaching were about 11 years old in 6th grade. And these children had no free time whatsoever throughout the entire, even during their lunch was only 20 minutes long, and that's just barely enough to get, they had to stand in line, and then they got their food, they had to eat really quickly, and then they had to get to the next class. There was just barely any time for them. They didn't have any time to just be themselves, to socialize, to be with each other. There was no time whatsoever set aside, unless teachers were giving them some time in their classrooms. They did not have at all, like the entire day, and it was just, they had to go from one class to the next, to the next, to the next, and they had to walk in straight lines, and it made me wonder when she talks about what is the child in the midst. It makes me wonder what are we thinking as a culture and as a society. What is the thought process that makes us produce an environment in a school where children have no time to relate to one another? They have no time to socialize, no time to talk. They have no time to play and exercise. They have no, these things that aren't important. What's important is the test and whether or not they fill in the right bubble, because this is what's going to get us to be able to be accredited, or our school to get whatever accolades we need to be a top-rated school, whatever. I mean, this is many, many, many years ago, and it changed because I haven't been in the public school system for over a decade. But it just struck me, it made me wonder, what is it that we are thinking about children that we would come up with this, where they have basically no autonomous time, no free time for themselves. And so she says, what is the little being that is entrusted to human parents? Is a child a tablet to be written on, a twig to be bent, wax to be molded? And it certainly does seem like, sometimes we're not even aware of what are we thinking? What is the philosophy? What is behind what we are doing? And often that we can get so caught up in worrying, well, is my child at a 6th grade level or a 4th grade level, or are they keeping up with what the school is doing? And so we bring the mentality and the philosophy of the school, the secular school, and we don't even realize what that philosophy is. We just simply adopt it without thinking, where is this coming from, and why are we doing what we're doing, and what is the child that is in front of us? And Charlotte, she has 20 principles of education, and her first principle, the very first one, is that children are born persons. And to think about, what does it mean to be a person? Not a computer, not wax to be molded, not something where we put the information in and then expect it to be spit out on the other side. But in the last video, we read about, she talks about children, when she talks about the difference between a method and a system. She says that children are self-acting and self-developing beings. They are not just computers. They are not machines. We as human beings, we live to be in relationship, and we can err a lot of times either on one side or the other. We can either say that children are they're products, and so we have to mold them and shape them to the way that we think that they should be. That's just, we have the raw materials here, we have the tablet, and now we have to fill it all in with the right information, and then hopefully it'll be ready to go out and into the world. Or we can also err on the other side and say, oh, they already have everything in them that they need. They're already completely, fully ready to do whatever. They just need to look inside of themselves, and everything is inside. But both of those have a sort of not the right way to look at children. And I think Charlotte just has a beautiful way to look at children by saying that children are born persons, and we as persons, we need and crave relationship. And that's another one of the 20 principles, is that education is the science of relations, and that we need each other when we're in relationship. Charlotte wants us to bring to the child a feast, the very best, to introduce the child to the minds of Mark Twain and Thomas and to Shakespeare and Mozart and Plutarch and all of these wonderful, wonderful, amazing minds, and to give this child ideas, because that's the mind food that children feed off of, is the ideas that these ideas that they will ingest and then will grow of themselves, because this child is this self-developing being created in the image of God. And also I think that this can help us to relax, because so often we adopt. It's so easy because we live in this culture that believes that children are products rather than persons. And so it's easy to worry and to think, oh, is my child keeping up with whatever grade level standards are for that grade, and then is that going to help them get into college? But when we raise our thinking a little bit to, okay, children are not products, they are persons, and what is really important for our children? What do we really want for our children? We want them to care. We want them to have a lifelong love of learning, and to feel that they are excited about the world, they're excited about all the different wonderful, beautiful, praiseworthy things that are to be seen and had in this amazing life that God has given us, that they are excited about the life cycle of monarch butterfly, that they are excited about the music of Beethoven, that they have a love for mathematics, that this is something that is amazing to them, and that they're excited by the idea of physics, and that they love to go outside and run and play and exercise, and that they have many relationships with people who are living and also people who have written books, that they have all of this before them, and that they care. And this can allow us to relax, because when we see our children as persons, then it doesn't really matter when or what level they're at, because it's not a competition to be at the same level or higher than the other products, the other children, but it's about what is inside, what is on the inside. And we don't have, when we look at children as persons, we can realize and have respect for the personhood of children, which is sacred, because these children are created in the image of God, and that is something that is sacred and to be respected. And we can say, what is the most important thing for my child is what what is happening on the inside of him, and how can I help that to grow. And that takes a lot more gentleness and masterly inactivity, which is being able to step back and allow things to grow and give space, and to introduce and say, here, introduce you to Shakespeare or Plutarch or Mozart, and then now I want you to go ahead and to form a relationship. Let me introduce you to Jesus, and I want you to form a relationship with God on your own, and I'm not going to step into the middle of that and just be and try and expect you now fill in the right bubble. You know, who baptized Jesus, and who was the name of the ruler at the time when Jesus was born, and you need to have all the right answers. This is treating children as products, where we want a child to be in relationship with the world and with people and with the things that they are learning, and to grow in love and interest and in desire for more knowledge. And that takes a lot of us being able to step back in humility, and to step back and give space to allow these things to happen. And so I hope that this has blessed you. I hope that you are able to relax, to be able to step back, to give your child, put before them the feast of ideas, to be able to see them and view them as persons, and to guard your own heart and your own mind from all of the pressure that is pushing you to view your children as a product. And I hope that you were able to guard yourself and to give your children what Charlotte calls a quiet growing time, so that they can learn and experience, and to be allowed to grow these relationships that are appropriate for them. And so with that, I will see you guys in the next video.